Hello there. Tonight I've decided to make a video about Chat magazine, which I bought from Tesco while in town earlier. It's a fantastic magazine. I think it's sort of marketed in the UK for bored housewives, preferably with as few brain cells as possible, but it's a guilty pleasure of mine. If you look on the cover, I'll show you again. You've got lurking in the loft with a vile sex fiend, lured to her death to satisfy a sick fantasy. Docs froze my baby's brain, and my DIY bodger nearly lost his todger, and a man with 6 fingers, and I don't seem to be able to quite get the hang of this whole mirroring thing, so you have to excuse that. And oh my god, my eyeball's dangling, and some sort of onomatopoeic noise, which is to do with a diet involving worms. It's not actually a particularly exciting issue. I was called it sort of a weekly magazine, but they're all fantastic. I had to go through it earlier. The woman in Tesco looks slightly terrified, but it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. It starts off with a sort of letters section. If you see those 3 ladies there, I always feel a bit guilty looking at these, because people send in their photos and they're often quite inane and quite silly and unimportant, but obviously to these people they matter. And I realise the sort of arrogance of assuming that just because I consider myself to be slightly more intellectual than them, whether I go to the opera or enjoy theatre, whether I philosophise, whether I don't know, spend my life in the world of academia, my life is still just as meaningless and empty as theirs. Obviously it's a case of finding things you enjoy doing, so I shouldn't be quite so snobby. I think it's just people, well, 3 30-year-olds sending in their photos of them dressed up like, I don't know, one looks like Little Bo Peep. It just seems a bit silly. I always feel like an arsehole for laughing at that, but never mind. And to the main story about the sex pervert, I can only show you some quick pictures. First of all, this story is given a shock factor of 9.8. You can see it roughly in the centre of the screen. It doesn't explain how they reached that figure. I presume it's purely via scientific methods. Obviously a magazine, or a sort of, well, yes, it's a magazine. I keep getting tempted to call it a newspaper, but it's not. A magazine of this calibre would, well, I imagine they have a team of consultants and researchers and scientists on hand. So when it's 9.8, again, I presume that's out of 10. You can imagine just how shocking this story is. So I've really, much like an undercover or investigative journalist, I've really gone through hell for you lot out there. So enjoy, please do. I certainly didn't. It was absolutely harrowing, but ultimately worth it. Sort of sense of euphoria now, as if I have, you know, sort of, I don't know, been to the other side and come back. It's essentially about, surprisingly, a sex fiend who lived next door and spied on a woman in the garden who basically wondered why the curtains in his bedroom were open while she was sunbathing, and decided he must be spying on her. Presumably on a sunny day you wouldn't leave the bedroom curtains closed if that really needed saying, so she's obviously not, well, hopefully not going to be working as a private detective or for the police force sometime soon, but nevertheless that piqued her suspicion, and it turned out he had apparently gone into the loft. It was a semi-detached or a terraced house, so his was connected to theirs, and smashed in the inside wall upstairs. That was a fantastic smashing motion, and basically installed a hidden camera. They show you here, it's a pathetically hidden camera, but they feel the need to circle it in yellow anyway. There we go, hidden camera there. Trust me, it's very, very obvious, but nevertheless, obviously in all my years of spying on vulnerable women, I've acquired a few more tricks up my sleeve than what looks like a £10 webcam from Argos. But never mind. And she's also quoted as complaining he stole a pair of knickers, which was gross, apparently. That is a quote. Oh yes, and then now quick chat, which sort of small stories. This one is called Stuck on You, and with the subtitle of "No wonder my dog was owling." And you guessed it, the dog got its head stuck not in an actual owl, but in a pot that resembled an owl. It's a fairly silly story, although the man does explain that stupid pot had been in the garden for 7 years. Again, I'm not really a horticultural or pot expert, but I don't know, it seems a bit harsh on the pot. If it does have feelings, if one was to sort of take the Hindu or Buddhist approach that it's essentially the reincarnation of a man who meant well but made a few mistakes, we all do, no one's perfect, seems a bit harsh to call him stupid, or she for that matter. Females can be just as pot-like post-reincarnation as men. Anyway, when the dog got its head stuck in the pot, he quickly dialed 999. So it's reassuring to know that if you have a heart attack or a fatal accident or near fatal accident, potential accident that could be fatal without urgent assistance, you may not get an ambulance quickly because they're pulling a dog's head out of an owl pot. They also sent firefighters, apparently. In his words, there was only one thing for it: firefighters, in italics, so you know he really meant it. And then at the end it was all quite a happy ending, and apparently the dog is still driving him potty, so fantastic. There's not much else on those 2 pages. There's another quick story about a woman strangled by his bare hands. There's really not much to tell. Some bloke basically got drunk, had a problem with drink, and his wife left him and he killed her. Then this one, the DIY chainsaw massacre. This is the bodger that nearly took off his todger. The wound actually looks quite nasty, but they sort of ignore that and focus on the fact that he nearly cut his cock off. It's a funny story. Moving quickly on from there, there's a story about a man and his wife. Basically the man was unhappy with his wife and essentially bullied her into letting him rape a young girl. It's entitled When Evil Came to Town. Far be it from me to debate the morality of, well, breaking any sort of child sex law. I won't really go on about that one too much. The hyperbole is perhaps a bit much, but nevertheless, this is Chat magazine. Sorry, so Jeremy Paxman, watch out. The clock is ticking. More rubbish. Oh yes, then this, my 65-foot plunge. This girl essentially went on holiday, and apparently she had a bit too much to drink, and she shouted at her sister, who she'd gone on holiday with, "I'm sleeping outside," heading for the balcony. "I'll make a bed out of chairs," I thought. That's a quote, not me sort of planning what I'm going to be up to after the video. If anyone does wonder what I'll be up to after the video, send me a message, I'll happily let you know. And well, basically she fell off the balcony, and there's a big smash in italics, so it's a real accident, as opposed to one of those ones where, I don't know, she accidentally lands on a small dog that cushions the blow or something. Potentially it was standing there and didn't notice her coming because it had its head stuck in an owl pot. Apparently she'd fallen more than 65 feet, landed feet first. Her feet had exploded. She's then in hospital, and while she'd fallen, one of her vertebrae smashed and a shard of bone was lodged in my spinal cord. It's the reason she couldn't feel anything from the waist down. And Thomas, her translator, told her that they weren't sure if she'd ever walk again. Don't know quite what qualified her translator to give medical advice, but nevertheless. And after 2.5 months she was strong enough to fly home. To be honest, if she could have flown before, do you really need feet? Never mind. Then there's this, Ruth the Truth, Psychic Agony Art. It's all fairly non-eventful, picture of a cat there. And this here, this lucky star, if anyone's been having any sort of problems in their life, in any sort of field, relationships, work, the usual astrological stuff, the reason you may have been having trouble is because you get to discover Ruth's lucky star. Apparently you put your right hand finger on the star, close your eyes, and luck will flow. And it worked for these 3 people who it lists. VJ in Leicester won 2 tickets to a Bollywood film. Jennifer in Crewe won £3,000 on the Irish lottery, and Auntie Mo, I'm sure that's an EastEnders character, won a trip to Las Vegas in a magazine. I don't know whether she won a trip to Las Vegas and it was paid for by a magazine, or they gave her a magazine with a picture of Las Vegas and it sort of threw it in her face. The next page, even better, Mystic Mutt, a dog with psychic powers, who in this instalment gives advice on a rabbit who apparently needs to grow up and realise what's important in life. I've just realised it's 9.5 minutes. I best scurry along fairly quickly. Lots of adverts at this point for various cleaning things. And to be honest, that will do it for now. And if I get as many 1,000 views as I did for the last couple of videos, I will no doubt be making this a more regular thing every week with Chat magazine. Fantastic.